everyone, I'm Sheridan Nichols. Welcome to Inside Bristol. Well, that summer weather is definitely here and it's hot outside, and that definitely means one thing for most of us. Outside summer barbecuing, which can be so much fun, but we need to remember some safety rules when it comes to barbecuing, and here to tell us about that is Jack Spurgeon, and it's always so great to have you on the show, so thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you.
So this is a great topic. I mean, everyone's out, we've had a long winter. Not everybody's been grilling through the winter months. We've just had a long, long time. So I don't know, what does that do to our grill that's been sitting outside all this time?
Well, actually, when you put the grill back in service, you need to do all the same procedures you went through when you actually acquired the grill itself, and go back and double check all your connections. Check your tanks to make sure everything's okay with that. Make sure you don't have any unusual corrosion or anything of that nature. And just, fire it up one time just to see how it's working, to make sure all the valves are functioning properly and your emergency shuts off is working well, and before you ever put it into service to use for cooking of any nature.
Now, when it comes to barbecuing, just, in your backyard and when you have people over for dinner, is there one sort of type of problem that you see come up the most in terms of a safety hazard?
Well, a lot of times the biggest thing we see is because you do get families together and you do have youngsters running around, and most people don't think about creating that safety zone for those kids. So you should keep at least 10 feet as a safe zone for all the kids running around and playing, and that way they don't run into the hot grill itself, or maybe even knock it over and then create a fire situation of that nature. So yeah, create that safe zone for those kids.
And I think I read somewhere that you mentioned that not only with I'm thinking about like the big grill outside, but also when you're out camping. You want to establish those safety zones with the kids, but a lot of times you're sort of giving them the hot dogs to do if you're not doing a fire and you just have one of those little grills. So how do you control that?
The good thing about what you're talking about with the campfires and stuff like that is for the most part, when you're letting kids do that, you should be right there with them and maybe standing right next to them, helping them hold whatever device in where they're roasting marshmallows or making s'mores or roasting a weenie or something of that nature. But if you're right there beside them, you can actually watch their movement. Mm-hmm. Now, when they start getting active and stuff like that, that's when you need to make them understand that 10 feet, we shouldn't be nobody right here.
Well, and it's good going into the summer. I always find this with my kids, that if you tell them what the expectations are prior to it happening, it seems like everybody's more willing to follow the rules. And it seems a lot less dangerous. So we need to just start the summer out saying, if we're barbecuing, you need to stand back, or depending on the situation.
Right. And one good thing about it is that if you do have problems with your grill igniting, make sure that you shut everything off, open up the lid and let the vapors escape, and wait just a few minutes and then go back and retry it. If you have to use other methods, such as maybe one of those long matches or those long lighters, is to make sure all the vapors have escaped, leave the lid up, and then start that process again so you don't have a flash, and then just make sure everybody's out of the way when you do that.
And we talked about this right before we started taping, but when you lift up the grill, you want to keep it open if you're doing it like that. Don't keep it closed.
Right, so that way the vapors don't build up, and that way you won't have that flash or kind of like a explosion type deal, because those vapors will create that situation.
Yeah, because if you're clicking the knobs a couple times, how many times is too many before you think, I should wait a while?
Well, basically, if you haven't got it started pretty much after a couple of clicks with your igniter, then you're probably going to have to look at other methods, and then probably have it checked after you use it to grill, because you may have a problem with that igniter or something. So after a couple of tries, I would just go ahead and shut it down, let it clear, and then just go ahead and use other methods to light it, and then look at it afterwards to get it checked out.
Is there anything else that we should know about summer barbecuing that we're missing?
Well, one of the problems we also see is, especially not, a lot of people still use the charcoal grills, so disposal of the charcoals has become a big problem. A lot of people think they've cooled down enough, or they'll try to bury those charcoals in some kind of sand or dirt or something. Basically, you should extinguish those with a lot of water, douse them, make sure they're good and cool. A lot of people have kind of disposed of them in their trash can, and it don't take but a little bit of temperature to get that fire going. So make sure they're completely out. And the other issue we kind of explained with that is with your trash can, it's a good idea. Most people don't think about this because something could be dropped in there hot. If you make your trash cans about 10 feet away from your house as well, you won't have a problem in case the trash can catches on fire. So we put that safety tip out there along with the other information we give out.
There's always so much to remember. Well, how do we keep all this straight? And another big thing that we were also going to just briefly touch on while we were out barbecuing, we need to make sure that we're watching not to get sunburned and all of this stuff that goes along with it. Unfortunately, we need to be careful, right?
Right, and the ultraviolet rays are what's getting each and every one of us, and it seems that there's more and more people becoming more sensitive to the sunlight. I don't know if there's some kind of change or what the deal is, but more people are becoming more sensitive, so we have to make sure that we don't have those long exposures to the sun, especially during the midday time, because that's the worst time. So we want to make sure that we limit the time we're in the sun, plus, you know, wear good sunscreen, especially our younger children. You know, make sure we apply those when we're supposed to, at least a 30 plus or more. And then if we have infants or children, we need to keep those, especially 1 year and less, we need to just keep those out of direct sunlight whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much to remember, and I can tell you that the sunscreen thing I think is hard with kids because even with the spray, sometimes, you know, it doesn't get everywhere. You've just got to be really diligent, I think,
right,
in that department.
You know, they make them now where they say if you're in swimming pools or you perspire a lot, that you don't need to really apply them, that they'll stay on again. But the best thing to do is if you've been swimming, when they come back out, because you don't want to take no chances, is to reapply it as directed, because, you know, they say that it may work and it may do it, but the best thing to do is be overcautious and put that back on again once they come out of the water.
So would you say your biggest safety summer tips are generally the barbecuing and maybe the sunburns and some of those types of things, or what about the, you know, wildfires and different things like this?
Well, early spring up till, you know, when we talk about grilling fires, they're usually between May and August. But we do have some of those issues because people build the campgrounds and not watch for them, and campfires and that kind of stuff. And we do have some of those fires. But most of the wildland fires we see is just both natural from, you know, lightning like we had bad storms last night, or just things from people just kind of discarding hot items, you know, cigarettes, flipping those out. They can create fire situations with the wildland fires. So those are generally what causes our problems when we talk about
I put a coffee mug in the microwave last week that caught fire. I was like, ah! Yeah. I didn't know. I thought it was just plastic, this one handle, but it actually had like aluminum or something inside. I had no idea. And the next thing, I could smell something, and I come in, I was just heating up my coffee. I thought, I mean, you know, it just went into ashes.
Yeah, you know, our biggest factor when we talk about incidences are, you know, either when we talk about fire-related things, you talk about electricity or natural gas that creates some of those incidents just because products fail. But human factor is way up there on that list, and it's everything we do, just not thinking about things, and it creates those problems.
Really great tips, especially to get our summer off on the right foot so we can avoid any casualties, right?
Right, that's what we're looking for, is we want to enjoy the summer months, you know, be safe, because everybody enjoys their days when they're away from work or away from school. So we just got to keep them fun, but yet safe.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about fireworks or anything like that either. That's next time.
Yeah, that's it.
Alrighty, thank you so much for being with us today, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We waited a few weeks to talk to these two very important gentlemen because we wanted to make sure you were over your jet lag. I have Richard Venable and Mike Sparks here to share with us about their trip to China, which just was, what, a month ago?
Basically, the start of it was about 6 weeks ago. We left here on March 4th.
And so tell us a little bit about the journey there and what you were doing and what this means for our area.
Well, the journey itself was quite interesting. We were 3 hours late into Tokyo and got to spend the night there courtesy of the airlines. But we arrived in Shanghai before our appointed time by 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So we made our presentation just as soon as we arrived in Shanghai to the industry we were calling on.
And it was a good opportunity for us. This company has been in Bristol 3 times. They have a mining-related focus and are associated with a company that already exists here. And their interest sparked our trip.
And so how does that relationship even begin? Was it with the company that's already in Bristol? They say, hey, this company could be interested in looking at a plant in the United States, or how does it even all start before you even book the plane tickets?
Well, we had a local company that wanted to expand, needed to expand. Business was good for them. So working with Mike and Christy and staff here, we were able to locate a larger building for them. And our talks resulted in the recognition of an opportunity. And of course, as Mike said, this particular company had visited here 3 times with their top officials.
Wow.
And so we thought to emphasize how important this was to us, this international opportunity, that we would go visit with them and make our formal presentation. Now, one thing we did, and I don't want to take up too much time, but we translated everything we took for the ease of translation. We learned from the first meeting, obviously, that communications is a difficult hurdle.
So do you speak fluent Mandarin now?
Of course, yes.
But that's such a good point. When we invite other countries or people coming into our community, or even especially when we go there, it is important. I'm sure you had to do a little bit of research about how they even shake hands or, present to each other. I know as Americans, sometimes when we are up and speaking and leading presentations, we tend to, speak louder and are real big with our movements, whereas I've read in some Asian countries, they're much more quiet and it's not as boisterous, I guess. So
one of the things that we found both in their visits here and in our visit there was that Chinese are very Southern in nature, in that their relationship with individuals is very important to them, and how you react to them in terms of respect. For example, us going there, having materials in Chinese, making that effort had a big impact in what we've heard later in their perception of our interest in the community, the company. And one of the things that was interested in this is we're competing with another state for this company, and it turned out that evidently they learned that we were going over there, and so we had only been gone like 3 days, and the other state showed up.
Really? Wow.
Courting them, but we're still very hopeful that this is going to work out for our community.
Well, and you had a couple of other neat things unfold while you were there too, business-wise anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the relationships that the company we've been talking to originally, they have a relationship and a common ownership with a French manufacturing company who has a manufacturing place in Weibai. And we visited that, and with the French owner, and he's a 50% owner in the 51% owner in the company we're recruiting. So things kind of snowball and they go together. So we had opportunities to talk with other people who could bring other factories here and other plants and other manufacturing. And through that contact, he introduced us some of their local economic development people. So they're interested in coming here and visiting with us. Right. And Mike could tell you about them, and we're putting together a formal invitation for them.
The French owner, because of his stature in the community, in the region, set up a lunch with us for officials in what we would call an enterprise zone, a large area that's designated for economic growth. In fact, in this one district, there's been over $1 billion of investment by the Chinese government in companies in the last 5 years. And with that, we learn from them an interest in trying to make a connection here in the States, not only to recruit business to them, but also to help bring business to the States. And while we were in China, the Chinese Congress was in session, and they chose their new leader. And in numerous speeches and all the news that we could read, there was a big emphasis on the relationship between China and the United States economically. And we've learned that the government is encouraging their companies to invest and have a presence in the United States. Okay. There is a lot of money in China. They've grown so rapidly with the world buying their goods that they have capital to expend. So we see this as a untapped resource for us to do some recruiting, and hopefully if we are able to get the first Chinese company, that will spark the interest in having more companies come here. The presence of a Mandarin Chinese language course in our school system was very good as far as their perception of our interests. So that was an added treat for us.
Now that's exciting. Is that just in one school, in one elementary school, or is it the Mandarin program?
I believe that it's in all the elementary schools with the idea that it will percolate up into the higher grades. And the teachers here, the Chinese teachers here, actually have been helping us in preparing materials for sending back over to China. They've been very helpful and are been great partners.
That's great. Is there anything that I'm missing that we should add in?
Not really. There's a lot more commonality than we know. We were fortunate to have a Chinese coach here, a native Chinese coach us on some of the cultural things that we needed to know. One thing that happened to us on the train to Beijing, or Huainan, quite honestly, two evidently Europeans or Americans, whatever, sitting in front of us, and he opened up an iPad, and it had Eastman Chemical on it. Oh. And they happened to be employees of Eastman Chemical located in Shanghai. Oh, wow. A few weeks ago, I found from listening to a speech by Jim Rogers, the president and CEO there, that Eastman has 600 employees in Shanghai. So there's a lot of commonality, and the thing that struck me is that China is basically two cultures. There's a huge entrepreneurial community there, and the government is encouraging that. The government also takes care of 1.3 billion people, and so they have a kind of a dual system. But there's a tremendous opportunity, and Mike mentioned the Southern hospitality type. That was evident throughout in our trip, and there's China has always been, prior to 1948, a longtime friend. Most people don't know that the Flying Tigers in World War II operated off of an island in the Yangtze River. So we have a long history, and there's a friendliness of and an acceptance of our culture in China, which I think is very important.
Well, keep us posted.
Very good.
Alrighty.
We will. We've issued invitations, and we're expecting. They like to come here.
Oh, good.
So we're expecting visitors soon.
Oh, well, we'll look forward to it. You'll have to bring them in, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Bristol. Well, joining me is Angie Rutyherford, and thank you so much for being with us on super short notice, because we're going to talk a little bit about the Full Moon Jams, and we are going to tell everyone out there, as we all know, it is a free concert series. But we need some tips, and Angie here is a professional. She can give us some good tips on what time we should be heading down to these concerts and what we need to bring as a family, and so give us some details.
Okay, the concert is from May until middle of October, and it's a free event on State Street at the Downtown Center, and all we ask that you bring is a lawn chair.
And people can bring coolers, right? I mean, you can bring your drinks, and you can bring blankets, and you've probably seen a little bit of everything. And in terms of getting there, I know most of them start at 7, right? Or they all do?
They all
start at 7. So if a concert starts at 7, what time should we arrive?
Probably around 6 o'clock. The crowd starts arriving then.
And do we need to bring anything from home?
You can bring a cooler, a lawn chair, and
Blankets or
blankets. Yeah.
but some chairs are set up, right? If you get
We
there
do
early
provide
enough,
seating, but it is
goes
limited,
quick.
so.
Yeah. And these concerts get really big.
We have 600 to 700 people on a tribute series night.
It's amazing. And like you said before, even if you just come down, maybe bring a couple of those. I always think about, what you bring to your kids' soccer matches, or you go to the football game or whatever, those types of chairs. And they're comfortable, and now they've all gotten fancy with cup holders and everything else. And so you can really sit back and enjoy, but there's other things to do beforehand, which makes it fun to go down that hour early. Like you said, there's concessions, there's a lot going on downtown during those nights, so it's a good place to go. So the concert series has begun, and it typically runs through
The middle of October.
and then within that there are several concerts, and they're always on
Every Tuesday and Thursday nights.
throughout the whole summer. So you for sure have no excuse to get down there. And what year is this again?
This is the 17th season.
That's what I was thinking. So this is exciting, and it's definitely come such a long way. And I mean, the music really is fantastic. So it is exciting. So we've got one, what we were doing right as we started coming up. That one's June 6th, I
June
believe.
6th, yes.
So, and if anybody wants to find out more information, where should they go?
They should go to the City of Bristol, Tennessee's website
Okay.
or call 764-4171.
And they can see a full lineup so that they can plan ahead. So if you want to get one of those seats, how early would you really have to be there?
Probably around 6 o'clock.
And
It
you
starts filling up.
might. Okay. Well, good. That's exciting. Well, we look forward to hearing more. And thank you so much for coming on, especially such short notice.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Well, we've had a jam-packed show today, and we are ending with Jerry Poteet, who is going to talk to us about the STEM program at Holston View Elementary, which we are all super excited to learn about. So what is the STEM program?
Holston View is becoming more of a STEM school. STEM is an acronym that stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And most people look at that and they say, oh, well, that's cool. I understand science and I understand technology and understand mathematics at the elementary level, but how do you teach engineering at the elementary level? Well, you can translate that into creative problem solving. If the students have a project to work on, they'll need to collaborate with each other, they'll need to do research, they'll need to do all kinds of things to engineer a solution to their problem or to their project, whatever it is. So the engineering part of that is creative problem solving.
And recently, I know we did a segment with you focusing on a really neat project that you have going. And although we're not going to get into lots of details, you still need to mention it because it is fantastic.
Our solar pavilion has raised quite a bit of excitement. We had the groundbreaking just this past Thursday. And it's a combination outdoor classroom and a solar panel array that's capable of generating up to 50,000 watts of clean electricity back into the TVA grid. So yeah, it's a good combination. It's a good marriage.
So tell us a little, how long has Holston View been a STEM school?
STEM in name, we're still working on that, but as far as putting more and more emphasis on STEM, we've been working on it for about 3 years now. We have a classroom that's set aside so teachers can set up long-term projects. They don't have to trash their classroom for more than, for a long period of time. They can use this STEM classroom. They can come in and set up different kinds of projects like roller coasters and science fair projects and things like that. So we're doing that. We're putting more emphasis on science in that. Science teachers are also reinforcing the reading skills and the math skills and social studies skills that that teachers are doing. So it's a way of melding all of the content areas of the different subjects in elementary, but doing it with that hook of science and technology and engineering and mathematics to help kids learn more stuff in less time.
So now, who can go to Holston View? Anybody, or do you apply to get in?
You're welcome to come and join. I don't know if you would meet the qualifications or not, but sure. Holston View is one of the public schools in Bristol, Tennessee. It's open enrollment. You can transfer in, transfer out. The people who live in that general area, of course, are residents, but transfers are okay.
Do you feel like the transition within the school over the last few years has been great in accepting this?
I think good change doesn't take place quickly. And this is taking its sweet time, and it's needs-based. We've had teachers who have gone out and visited other schools, visited schools that part of their name is actually STEM. We're not the Holston View Elementary STEM School by any means yet. We're working toward that. But we have visited schools that are true STEM schools, some magnet schools and things like that. And it was pleasant to find out that we're already doing a lot of things that they're doing as STEM schools. So we're still looking for projects that are a good fit for Holston View. Not everything we saw would be a good fit, but things that are a good fit, that are long lasting and we can get long-term benefits from. Those are the kinds of things we're looking for.
So do you have any examples?
One example of the things that we saw was a school down in Middle Tennessee. One of their projects was raising chickens, of all things. They had a storage building, and inside there they had these big tubs, and they had about 7 or 8 chickens in each tub. And the students who were taking us on this tour were explaining all of the things that went into raising the chickens and getting their eggs, the production from those chickens. The students would gather the eggs every morning and every afternoon. They would put them into recycled egg cartons, sell them to the general public in the school office, take the money from that, put it back into buying more feed or replenishing their chicken stock. They had spreadsheets that they were working with. They had charts, and these were second graders. And they ran the whole program. So those are the types of programs that you will see in a STEM school, where it's not about this worksheet or filling in these questions. It's about project-based, collaborative learning where the kids are really getting some hands-on experience.
And that is great. Is there anything else that I'm missing that you want to add?
Just that in a STEM environment, the motivation for students is palatable. They can't wait to get to school in the morning. They can't wait to get in and start working on their projects because they have ownership. They have so much buy-in, and there's an intrinsic reward there that you don't have to hand out stickers and lollipops.
That's great. I would love to come and see it, actually. I think it would be amazing.
We are a work in progress, but you're welcome to come anytime.
Great. Well, thank you so much for rushing over here to tell us all about it, and we're looking forward to seeing how this new energy pavilion goes. I'm sure it will be incredible, and then we'll look forward to hearing about the future projects.
Well, thank you for giving us a chance to share.
We'll have to follow some of these future students, you know. Wouldn't that be interesting to see them, you know, like these second graders that are doing some of this, and then where they are in the high school level eventually, and, you know, what kind of, I mean, technology is everywhere.
Yeah, well, we could go back to that school in Middle Tennessee and visit those students sometime. It would be fun. You know, and they had some other cool ideas of butterfly projects and things that we're looking at as far as maybe doing at Holston View.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you again for being here, and thank you at home for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.